Welcome to Spiritually Raw, everybody. I'm Jay. This is April, and your host. We are the creators of the Gnostic TV network and the 5D economy. And to learn more about our unique multidimensional method for manifesting everything you want in your life or becoming a broadcaster on Gnostic TV, you can check out our links below or connect with us on Instagram at 5D_mystics. Join us today as we navigate the realms of consciousness with our special guest, ET contactee. Everybody loves this, right? This is awesome. Interdimensional traveler and galactic historian, Debbie Solaris. She's going to share her unique and expansive perspective on cosmic origins and galactic Akashic readings.
Now, this is super interesting. After a fateful extraterrestrial contact experience a few years ago, Debbie awakened to her true star lineage and her higher calling. Through her ancestral connections with the Akashic Records, she received downloads from the galactic historical information and universal spiritual knowledge. Debbie offers visually appealing, multi-dimensional rich classes, webinars, and presentations on extraterrestrial life and the culture, galactic history, ancient civilizations, as well as Starseed and Lightworker enrichment workshops. Naturally, she is a certified Akashic record reader as well, and she's also a very gifted intuitive. We're so excited to connect with her to learn more, and she has a whole lot of stuff coming up. Make sure to connect. Check out her links at debbiesolaris.com.
And she's also going to be a speaker, which you'll find on Gnostic TV under the New Earth Symposium. So be sure to check that out. So, Debbie, we've been waiting for this moment to connect with you. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I've been waiting for this moment too. So thank you for having me on. And I look forward to connecting today and connecting with your audience.
Yeah, for
Thank
sure.
you. Yeah.
So this fateful extraterrestrial, like, tell us about that. I mean, that's kind of dramatic when you say it like that. Like, how does that?
Yeah, it is. It is dramatic. It's the most life-changing experience I ever had in my life. But I mean, that would be right. But so just to give you a little background about myself, I'm actually pretty much a latecomer to this metaphysical, New Age movement. I was brought up very conventionally. I was part of a military family. We traveled a lot, when I was a child. So I just remember moving from place to place to place, and consequently, I also ended up in the military. I was in the U.S. Navy for 6 years, worked as a hospital corpsman, and a preventive medicine tech. And I also, I don't know, the military was interesting. I got some really nice duty stations though. Monterey, California, and Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. I mean, you can't beat that, right?
Wow.
So yeah, I got this. I lived in Hawaii for 4 years, and sometimes I wonder if that was like the beginning, like a little spark of awakening, because I just remembered when I arrived in Hawaii that I felt like I was coming home. It just felt like there was a connection, like a very deep spiritual connection. But at the time, I didn't quite understand it. But going back to my extraterrestrial contact experience, I didn't believe in extraterrestrials. It wasn't just something we talked about within my family. And I didn't really start becoming aware of UFOs and aliens until I started dating my now husband, who was really into the paranormal and would read, UFO magazine, so he would have those laying around. I'm thinking, what's this stuff my boyfriend's reading, so I'd pick up a magazine every now and then and read a story. And I think in a way that expanded my consciousness, to at least, I guess, entertain the idea that something like that might be, I guess, possible. But never in a million years did I ever think it would happen to me. I never, ever thought I would ever have like an alien abduction type experience.
And that's what it felt like, was an alien abduction type experience?
Actually, I wouldn't even call it abduction. I think some people just categorize it as that because I wasn't aware that I was going to be taken, but I actually consider it like a reconnection or a visit, because it was so positive.
Were you just living your life one day and next thing you know, something out of this world happens?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was pretty much like I was very unawakened one day, and the next day I had, I had this experience, or it was evening at nighttime actually, and then the next day I was completely awake. So,
What
so
happened?
basically, yeah, I was just getting to that. Actually, what happened was my now husband and I, we were moving forward with our relationship, so we decided to move in together. So we were just going through this big period of transition, and I was worried about the planet. I ended up sending a prayer out to the universe one night, just asking for help for planet Earth. So I, just sent out this prayer, and I included all the higher dimensional beings I could think of, which was mostly angels, ascended masters, and Mother Mary and Jesus, So, and at the last minute, I included galactic brothers and sisters. I don't even know why I'd said that, but I did. And I had the prayer, forgot about it. And 2 weeks after I said that prayer, I went to sleep as normal. And when I came to, I was in a different consciousness. So I was looking around and I was like, oh, this doesn't look like a dream. It looks too real. When you're in the higher dimensions, and I know a lot of near-death experiencers can attest to this as well, it feels like you're in a hyper reality. It's so real that it's just even more real than 3D. It's, 3D feels kind of phased out or fuzzy compared to this reality because everything is so crystal clear, sharp. You see auras around everything. The colors are brilliant. You even see colors you've never seen before.
Right.
And so I was looking around and I was like, this looks like some sort of starcraft. But it looked different than what you would see like on Star Wars. Star Wars, it always looks really metallic and like constructed by human hands. This looked like interdimensional. It was comprised of light and plasma. Like it was like materials I've never even seen before, but there was a structure to it, but it was very organic at the same time. And so I was just like looking around, like, what is this? And I didn't even have time to be scared because I was like, I was just trying to figure out what was going on. And the craft, I think, had a consciousness of its own because it was leading me towards a space. And so I was just following it to the space. It was kind of like lights or something that was kind of leading me to a space. And I went into this large room, and there was 4 or 5 extraterrestrial beings that were waiting for me in this room.
They
And
look like.
they looked, actually at first I couldn't even see them because their auras were so brilliant that, it was just kind of blinding. But as I was taking glances through my periphery, I was able to see what they physically looked like. And they had slightly larger heads, smaller bodies. But I could tell right away they weren't gray aliens. Their skin tone was a different color and their features were different. They actually had pupils and irises in their eyes. And their skin tone was kind of maybe bluish greenish. And I kind of got the feeling they were pulling down their vibration in order to interact with me. And maybe this was like their more physical appearance, but
Did you feel safe
oh yeah.
did
Oh
you?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't afraid at all because they were just emanating this love energy, like this love and acceptance. Like I just felt like in a warm cocoon, I mean, it was beautiful. And I kept thinking in my head, do these beings understand English? How do I talk to them? I have so many questions. And, what is this? Where am I? Who are they? So all these
Right.
questions were going through my head. And as I was thinking these questions, even before I would finish the questions, they were answering my questions telepathically. And so it was amazing. I was like, oh, okay, they're answering me, It was, and I was like, oh, I didn't know I could speak telepathically, with these beings. And they told me that because I obviously asked them the obvious questions like, who are you? Where am I? They they told me they were Arcturians from the star system of Arcturus, which is in the Bodas constellation. And as they were telling me this, I was in some sort of holographic sphere where they were illustrating through holograms their ideas. But they were also sending me mental pictures as well. But it was the coolest experience because this hologram felt like you were actually there. So as they were describing their star system, they were showing me where it was located on a star map. I mean, it was just like you were in it. And it was like almost like virtual reality kind of thing. But it was just the coolest experience. And I was asking them one question after another. What's going on with planet Earth? Why is things so messed up here? Why is there, religion? Why is there government? I mean, I was asking them question after question after question, and they patiently answered all my questions. And then one of the questions I also asked them was, why me? I'm nobody. I'm just a health inspector that works for El Paso County Health Department, so, why me, and they told me it was because I'm part of their soul family. My soul originated from their system, that they are my true family, and that they were there to remind me of my mission and my true mission. So my mission wasn't to do food inspections for the county. I had a bigger mission than that. And at the time, I was just trying to take everything in, like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This seems kind of unreal. And but they ended up answering all my questions about what was going on planet Earth. And
what did they say about that, Debbie?
The main takeaway I got from that was that we're living in kind of a third dimensional false reality construct, and that everything here is an illusion, which at the time I didn't quite understand what they meant, but they kept saying over and over again it was an illusion. And I was like, okay, everything seems real to me, like I can touch things, things seem pretty solid here, but the other thing they told me was that me and my family, and they meant my greater spiritual family, have chosen to be here to help with the ascension process of planet Earth, and that we were all protected. Like, because I kept asking them, do I need to be worried about all these wars and things that are going on? And they said, no, you're protected. We are watching over you. And I was one of those very anxious people. I still suffer from anxiety now and then, but I lived my life, I would say, mostly in fear of everything. Had a lot of phobias and things, but after they told me that, I felt like, wow, what do I have to be afraid of? I have these magnificent beings that are looking out over us,
What's the perspective now that when you talk, and I really want to get your perspective on this, when you think about what groups of us incarnated to help us ascend, right? So were we, I mean, I know that probably, let me talk in linear terms, if you would. Are we a lower species, if you would, and we're supposed to get to their level, or are we just different?
By different, do you mean?
Are we just a different species? Like when you talk about ascension, that, just if you think about that implication of like, well, we got a lot more to learn to get to, let's say, their level. Are we a low species of sort? Are we low on the totem pole as human beings? Comes to the
actually, yes and no. Yes and no. I would say, as Earth beings, we carry a lot of genetics from extraterrestrial beings. And this is something I've learned through doing, I say a multitude of Akashic Records readings, connecting with the Galactic Records. And there are certain, areas of planet Earth that were colonized by different species of beings. So in a way, we carry their genetics. But I think the whole thing with Earth, it was meant to be like an experiment. Like, let's see if we can take genetics from all these different star systems, put them on one planet, and see how these beings evolve, and
so do you think that experiment is going right, or it's going real wrong?
I would say it's progressing. I would say it's progressing more now than it has in thousands and thousands of years. because we kind of went backwards, you know, I mean, after the fall of Atlantis, we went backwards. I mean, as far as our ascension process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, do you think that do you feel like they have when your experience with them, did you feel like there was an emotional attachment from them to us, or do you feel like, oh shit, this isn't working out? Let's do a little tweaking here or there. Like, what's their mindset as they try to help us?
Oh, I think there's definitely an emotional connection. I think they have a vested interest in seeing us succeed as a collective consciousness. That's why they're contacting so many of us right now that have, I guess, either genetic or soul connections, or both, I guess, with them in order to, I guess, accelerate the process of ascension. So in that sense, yes, I do think they have, but at the same time, they're not going to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And that was the lesson I learned when they were showing me images of New Earth, and we're talking about the New Earth Symposium. They actually showed me what Earth's capacity, or Earth's potential could be, and it was absolutely stunningly beautiful. I mean, just, you know, houses that are integrated into the environment, free energy for everybody. Everybody was teleporting. There was no needs for airports anymore. Hallelujah, because I hate airports. But other than recreational vehicles, I think we're pretty much transporting ourselves wherever we wanted to go. And we were growing our own food. There was like these hectagonal type of greenhouses where food was being, that we all shared with each other. We all shared food.
Sounds lovely.
Can
Yeah,
we?
sounds great.
Okay, go ahead. No, so much to talk about with Debbie
I
Solaris.
know. It's like I feel like, oh my gosh, I got to cram this all in.
No, it's so good.
Yeah.
So you have this experience, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, extraordinary. Yeah.
You wake up the next morning and are you like, what the? And then what happens? Do they come back again, or do they start coaching you? How does the evolution of where you're at happen?
That's a great question. I actually woke up and I knew that my life had changed. I knew that I was never going to be the same. It was just like I had this realization that something extraordinary just happened. But at the same time, I was trying to process everything, like what the heck just happened to me. I guess my 3D level self was just like, what the heck happened? But on a deeper inner level, I knew that, you know, something, you know, this was the beginning of a new life for me. And so obviously the first person I told was my husband. You know, I told him, you know, hey, this is what happened. And he didn't believe me. He thought I was having a real crazy, far out dream. And what happened after that was I did have a second experience on board the starship 6 months later. Same starship, different beings though. The beings I interacted with the second time told me they were Pleiadian. And I got the sense that they knew me, or I knew them in the past, or I interacted with them because they were very familiar with me. They were just like, you know, hey, we want to share with you some more personal information that pertains to your life that might provide some healing. And, you know, so they were telling me about my what happened to my father's soul. My father committed suicide in 2007. And just some, you know, other tidbits about other family members and friends, and even my therapy cat Piglet. So Piglet, she was actually a certified therapy animal through the American Humane Association, and also with the American Red Cross. So we did a lot of volunteer work, and Piglet was around during the time that, you know, I had these experiences. And my understanding is Piglet was actually a Pleiadian high council being that chose to incarnate in a cat body and was my teacher, you know, so she was preparing me. Yeah, she was.
Is
Wow.
Piglet blue?
What's that?
Piglet blue?
She is a kind of a blue, what they call a blue sphinx. She was a hairless sphinx. So she had kind of a bluish grayish color.
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
Is Piglet still around?
No, unfortunately she passed away in 2017. which broke my heart. I knew she wasn't well, and she was getting older. She was just shy of 18. She was 18 years old, or almost 18. So, but yeah, she's no longer with us, unfortunately.
Debbie, the we're seeing more and more, we're hearing more and more visitations from our galactic brothers and sisters out there.
Yeah.
You hear about the history of angels, if you would, about that and the concept of angels. Is there any possibility we have mistaken the concept of an angel with an actual galactic? And because of the
I, I believe that. I believe that some of the winged beings that maybe were visiting Earth in earlier Earth history were probably Andromedans, so, and the beings, that people see when they pass away that they think are angels are probably actually Arcturians, because all souls go through the Arcturus portal when they pass on, and they get them prepared for the next incarnation. So I do believe that, and they're probably the Elohim that everybody, talks about, were probably actually angelic beings and vice versa. So there's probably components of the Elohim that were actually angelics. And so these greater galactic beings, they're just higher dimensional aspects of angelics, I guess.
how did it change or did it change your concept of a god, if you would?
Oh, completely.
How do you view it? Like, how do you view the concept of God?
Well, I was brought up Roman Catholic, and even throughout, I guess, my Catholic upbringing, I was always wondering, like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, how can there just be Adam and Eve? And I don't know. I was just, just a lot of things that were in the Bible, or at least the Bible that, we know about, freaking didn't make sense to me. I was always one of those kids that was asking a lot of questions. And I actually went to a Christian university, so Bible study was part of my curriculum in college, so I took New Testament, Old Testament, multitude of Bible classes. And so I always had questions in the back of my mind, like, some of this doesn't make sense, and I would say, after talking to the Arcturians on board that ship, the Arcturians told me, because I asked them, what's your religion? Because, that's all I knew as a human, yeah. And they said, we don't have a religion. A religion is a human, it's an earth human created construct. We have a direct connection with source. And I was like, wow, so you can just talk to God directly, and you have a connection with God directly? And they said, yeah, we don't need an intermediary. And I was just like, wow, that just blew my mind, because being raised Catholic, it was always like, oh, you had to confess to the priest, or you had to go through the priest, or you had to do this, so it was just a mind-blowing concept. And at that point, I was just like, I don't align with any religions at this point. I'm going to have a direct relationship with God. And I did have an extraordinary experience once where I felt like I connected with Source. That's a story for another time, maybe, but it was so extraordinary that when you're connected with Source, it's like you still retain your individuality, but you feel this deep connection, and it's like you're enveloped in all this love, and you never want to leave. So you never want to leave and Source, to me, I guess, looked like this really golden light. It was just like I was enveloped in this golden light. And I knew I wasn't, this was before my extraterrestrial contact experience. So at the time, I knew I had some sort of spiritual experience, or I knew that I was connecting with God, or what I thought was God. But I didn't really have words to explain it until, much later on. But yeah, so it's just this incredible, and that's all what the goal of all this is, us ascending is all about, is us returning to having a connection with our divine aspects of ourselves and with the greater intelligence. So that's the whole purpose of all this.
What's the difference between Galactic Akashic Records reading and just an Akashic Records reading?
Well, what I noticed when I was taking Akashic Records reading courses, so I took courses in person here in Colorado. I'm fortunate I live in the Front Range, which is Denver, Colorado Springs, Boulder, which is, kind of that whole corridor.
Mhm.
Which there's Colorado, we're pretty progressive spiritually, so there's a lot of spiritual happenings and a lot of spiritual offerings, so I had the great fortune to be able to take Akashic Records readings here in my hometown of Castle Rock. And
Very
as
cool.
I was taking the classes, I noticed that, wow, they're really focused on Earth lives, but I know we're all galactic beings, and why aren't we accessing the galactic records, the records of the stars and the
Right.
galaxies and the
Whole other
universe?
library. Huh?
Yeah, it's all exactly.
Yeah, so it's like the whole other level, So when I was doing readings, I was actually going beyond the Earth records, So I was going into the records of Sirius or the records of the Pleiades or the records of the Galactic Center. I was going way beyond what most people were going into at the time, um, and it's not like you have to have a special password for the galactic records. It's not like, oh, I have to have a certain level of experience. It's just being willing to push beyond Earth. It's like,
Right.
if you're willing to just ask, hey, Akashic record guides, help me push beyond Earth, then they're going to help you do that. But I think sometimes because for many, many decades, we've been stuck in this thing thinking of, oh, we only have Earth lives, so we're only looking at the Earth lifetimes, and I say we collectively, not me personally, um, but then now that we're starting to become more and more aware of our galactic connections, it's like our consciousness expanded, so now we're ready to access those higher level records.
Is there a galactic version of our soul fractal, soul purpose, if you would, that's coexisting with us right now? Maybe call it our higher self or different version of ourself. Is something like that going on?
Oh, definitely. A lot of times when I'm doing an Akashic reading, a galactic version one, I guess, I'm often connecting with that client's higher self or higher guide. Or if I'm doing a reading for myself, I'm connecting with my higher self. And it is a galactic aspect of ourselves. So we're all multidimensional beings. We all have multidimensional aspects of ourselves and a multitude of different dimensions. And so a lot of times our higher self is ourself and our guides are ourselves, or alternate versions of ourselves. Sometimes we can call in guides that are not our alternate versions of ourselves, like, say we call on Archangel Michael, for instance, or some ascended master. But for the most part, what I've seen, and a lot of times I can tell some of my clients, like, hey, these are just alternate aspects of yourselves. Your guides are not outside of you. They're not.
Mhm.
You're connected with you.
Look at
That's
it. It's a
interesting.
great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Our star origins, is it our star origins from our last lifetime, or is it our individual star lifetimes from when we were first created?
I think a lot of people like to think of themselves as being attached to one star system or one group. But the reality is that we're all soul shards of source. So we all had a multitude of lives, with the exception of maybe some really young Earth souls that have only had lifetimes on Earth, and there's quite a few of those too. But most of us have had lifetimes even beyond a certain star system or even beyond the last lifetime. So a lot of times when I'm talking about somebody's star origins, I'm trying to find their origination point when they had their first physical incarnation. So
That's
when they broke off from source and they had their first physical incarnation in a star system. And that just kind of categorizes it. But in reality, there's probably multidimensional aspects of ourselves that we're incarnating in a multitude of different star systems, realities, whatever, so a lot of times when I'm doing readings, I do it in a linear fashion just to make it more understandable for most of us. But the reality is that we might be having these lifetimes simultaneous to this one, because in the higher dimensions, there is no linear time. So,
Why do you think some people spend their lifetime trying to find their galactic family, waiting and doing everything right, if you would, to try to connect with the galactic family, and then some people just all of a sudden arbitrarily get a visitation? What do you think that is? Do they ever share with you, well, no matter, we're not here for everybody to see us? I mean, what's their rhyme or reason, or was that even?
I wish I could answer that. To this day, I don't know why they chose me, because I'm a human. I have a lot of faults. I mean, I was about as broken as they come, when they first reached out to me. Um, I I do think maybe some of it might have been, in my case, because I sent that prayer out, because I was sincerely, with all my heart, wanted to see some divine assistance for planet Earth. And even before that, I spent 6 years doing a lot of volunteer work with Piglet the cat. So I think it's an indication of wanting to be of service to humanity. So Piglet the cat and I spent many hours helping. We worked quite a bit with the soldiers at Fort Carson. So Colorado Springs, I used to live in Colorado Springs, is located very close to Fort Carson, which is an Army base. And so we worked with the Wounded Warrior Project and with the Fallen Hero families. And the other thing we worked with quite a bit was assisted living, particularly the Alzheimer wards. We worked with young kids with some of the library reading programs. We worked with kids that were, or actually adults and kids that were mentally challenged, or had some, I don't know what the proper word is these days, but they had some disabilities, mental disabilities, and yeah. So we did, and we worked quite often with the American Red Cross. So both Piglet and I were certified through the American Red Cross. So we just had. I think that had something to do with it, but I almost think that my soul chose to have that. Like I kind of chose to have this kind of slow preparation for my extraterrestrial contact experience. But honestly, I don't know why, I'm different from somebody else who maybe is really desiring to have that extraterrestrial contact experience, but just doesn't have it. I honestly don't have an answer for that.
The animals like the piglet, our dogs that we love, and we learn to telepathically communicate with them.
Yeah.
Are you able to kind of give a sense of, are they a spin-off of the Galactics, if you would? Do they come from that level? Like, and do the animals in general come from a specific star system for us?
Or are they, like Piglet, a part of our higher selves that have been reincarnated into these little bodies?
I think there's many possibilities with that. I've done a lot of readings where people have asked me about their pets. They feel this really like soul connection with their pets. And as starseeds, I do think we make contracts with beings that maybe have chosen, hey, I don't want to spend 80 years on freaking planet Earth, but I want to help you out. So, they might be part of our star family or something.
Yeah,
So they might choose to incarnate as our pet, and somehow maneuver themselves into our lives,
Right,
So,
right. No, that's great.
yeah.
So when a client comes to you, I know we hear all the time, a lot of people are really stuck. They cannot find or uncover their passion or their mission in life. Do your readings help them uncover that?
Oh, absolutely. That's probably the number one question I get when I do an Akashic reading for somebody, is they want to know why they're here. What's their life purpose? What were they meant to do? What's their purpose? What's their mission? And so what I do end up doing is I look at their past lifetimes, or their interdimensional lifetimes, and I'm trying to see like a trend. Okay, so were they a healer, most of their lifetimes, or were they an explorer? Were they a truth teller? did they work in business? And not everybody's meant to be a spiritual practitioner. I think some of us do really well in, I would say, more 3D skill sets, and maybe we're meant to use those skill sets to promote starseeds and and other practitioners and light workers. But a lot of times I'm looking at patterns throughout their past lives, and then I tell them, well, you did this and you did that. What I'm seeing for you is that these are your gifts. These are your skill sets. I'm never going to tell somebody like, oh, you absolutely have to do this. This is your mission. I just give them opportunities, I guess, or some little breadcrumbs, so to speak, to figure it out on their own.
That's excellent. Very nice.
It's really a privilege to meet your spirit in this lifetime. So I want to thank you for your service and everything you're doing for humanity. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. All your links are being in the description below. We encourage everybody to check out Debbie. Just find out she's got a lot of events coming up. Of course, the most important one is going to be the New Earth Symposium on Gnostic TV, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right, so you'll see all the descriptions in there. Debbie, any final words as we wind down here before you love and leave everybody, of just giving them that sense of hope and what the possibilities are for us?
Yes, I would say I don't know, I'm getting this download to tell everybody that don't lose hope that things can change, because I think a lot of times we get mired in the 3D and, just the kind of the mundane life of having a job or trying to pay bills and trying to, survive in this reality. We all are capable of creating a fifth dimensional reality for ourselves if we choose to break out of the matrix. And sometimes that can be a very painful process. I know it was for me, but just find what your passion is, throw caution to the wind and just pursue it. I left my 3D job in 2019. I never looked back. And now I'm living my dream life. I feel like I'm living a 5D reality. And I do think there's an aspect where the planet has to reach the fifth dimension, but then also individually, we have to create the fifth dimension for ourselves. And what does that look like? So don't lose hope on that. And, I'm here to assist, if you need some guidance. I'm no longer doing personal readings, but you can attend my trainings. We're always offering webinars and different trainings for folks. And I just want to say also that our destiny is to become part of the greater galactic family. That is without a doubt. Is going to happen at, whether it happens tomorrow or 10 years from now, we're part of the greater galactic family. And that's our destiny. And that's what we're moving towards.
I love it. Well, we hope to have you back on because there's so much to talk about with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk about it. And all right, everybody, I'm sure you all connected with Debbie like how we did today, and all of her information again is in the description below. So do reach out, go to one of her webinars, go to one of her events, and find your gig, right?
And together with Debbie Solaris's help, we are turning the universal key to global harmony and creating a unified world. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, tune in often, tell all your friends, and most importantly, may all your dreams come true. Many blessings.